In this video, caffeine is extracted from tea using dichloromethane. The crude extract is purified by recrystallization with ethanol. I'm going to add about 75 milliliters of distilled water to a 250 milliliter beaker. Then I'm going to throw in a few boiling stones. I'm going to cover the beaker with a watch glass and turn on the temperature to get it to boil. Once it starts to boil, I'll add 2 packets of tea. Okay, after it's been boiling about 5 minutes now, I'm going to go ahead and take out the packets, and I will try to get back as much of the liquid as I can by squeezing it between 2 watch glasses. I'll grab the other one out. I'm going to remove it from the hot plate, and I'm just going to cool it a little bit in this ice. So now I'm going to add about 1 gram of sodium carbonate, which will convert the tannins into water-soluble salts. Okay, and now I will add the solution into a separatory funnel. I'll leave behind the boiling chips so they don't get stuck in the funnel. For the extraction then, I will use about 10 milliliters of dichloromethane, and I'll extract it 3 times, then combine the 3 extracts. Now, this is probably the hardest part, is to extract this without forming an emulsion. So instead of vigorously shaking it, I'm just going to tip it over a few times. Looks like it worked pretty good. I have very good separation, a little bit of bubbles in between, but nothing too bad. So now I'll just drain off the bottom layer. So add another 10 mils or so. Okay, and again, I'm just going to tip it over. Okay, I got great separation again. If I needed to, I could potentially put the stir rod in there to break up some of the bubbles. I'm going to drain the bottom layer off. And I'll extract it one last time. You see I have some there. Again, there's probably a little bit more, but I'm just going to set that aside for now. So the solution is a little bit cloudy. There's a little bit of brown spots. So there's some impurities there, but for the most part it looks okay. So now I will add anhydrous sodium sulfate to dry the solution to remove any water that may have come over with the dichloromethane, or come out with the dichloromethane. Solution already is looking a lot clearer. Okay, and I'll just let it sit for a few minutes. Now that it's sat for a few minutes in the anhydrous sodium sulfate, I'm going to transfer it to a crystallization dish so it can evaporate the fastest. I will just decant it and try not to get any of the sodium sulfate to come over. Add this to the hot plate. I'm also going to rinse this one time. This is boiling pretty good, but just to help it boil a little more, I'm just going to put in that wood stick. I'm just going to keep an eye on it just so I don't evaporate it all and start heating the crude caffeine directly. Well, I can see it starting to solidify a little bit, so I'm going to remove it from the heat. Okay, it looks like it's almost all gone there. So with this remaining amount, I'll let it evaporate slowly, or at least without any heat directly applied to it. There's not a lot of it. The color looks really good though. It's not yellow or anything. But if it is yellow, or if it does look a little cruddy, that should be taken care of when we do recrystallization. So I'm going to try to scrape some of this up. It doesn't seem to be working very well. Instead of trying to scratch it up, an easier way to transfer this would probably be to dissolve it in the recrystallization solvent first. Okay, so I'm going to add now 100% ethanol to it to dissolve it, and then transfer it to a test tube. Alright, so I have it redissolved in hot ethanol, and now I'm going to transfer this to a small test tube. Okay, you can see I do have some of it left behind. Not all of it made it, but a decent amount made it to the test tube. Okay, now I'm just going to add it to an ice water bath to minimize the solubility, and hopefully purified caffeine will crash out of it. After it's been sitting in the ice for about 5 minutes, I'm going to collect it using the Buchner funnel. I also have some cold ethanol to help with the rinse. Unfortunately, the vacuum is not working right now in the building, so I got a modified vacuum here where I'm going to use this syringe and I'm going to pull it up to create a vacuum to suck the solvent through. Okay, so I'm first going to take the ice cold ethanol and wet the filter paper. Works a little bit anyway. Works good enough, I guess. Okay, I'll try to collect the crystals as best I can. I got quite a bit that never made it out of the flask. I guess I'll add some ethanol to it. Looks like I got most of them out of the test tube. Now I'm just going to transfer it to a little vial.
have it, some recrystallized caffeine from ethanol, form some really nice needles.